Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of Lumia.
And we're super passionate about all things coaching, and we want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training thousands of life coaches.
Let's dive into the science and magic of coaching.
And Noelle, good morning.
Good morning. So we've been talking about this a lot, and it's also an important topic to keep talking about so that all of the people who are coaches and who are becoming coaches right now have a lens on where the industry is going, what's happening, and can start to imagine how they pitch and promote themselves to get into these industries that are just, $1 trillion industries.
Yeah. And you know what this reminds me of is, just because it's what's happening at Lumia is our retreat for our community and the networking that happens there, the building of relationships, the partnerships, like all the stuff that happens from communities.
Oh my God. Absolutely. And that's, I think that point of like what happens when people gather in community is really central to the underlying meat and potatoes of these trends. They're not coming out of thin air. They're not based on advertising campaigns. They're based on the lived experience of humans in a post-pandemic landscape where everybody's fucked up.
Yes.
Straight up.
Yes.
Like everybody is struggling right now. This has been like the summer of divorce. People are insecure financially. I don't like
inflation and
oh my God. Every parent I know has gone crazy with like germs and sickness this past summer. And so, the whole world is just kind of like, who moved my cheese?
I heard from somewhere or someone that they're calling this a silent depression.
Ooh.
And I was like, because like no one's really kind of talking about it, but it is kind of equivalent. It's like the modern day depression. And I was like, I could kind of feel that energy around me. I mean, I have people who, I have friends who can't pay rent. And then, like you said, I have a lot of friends going through breakups and life transitions, and also a lot of parents struggling big time.
Yes.
Myself included. Yes.
Yes. Like all of us. And so, okay, let's do the before and after. Where were we before? We were in a hyper capitalist market. What does that mean? Advertising was solo focused. It was like me time, feel good, like, self-care, do you, boo? And that's great, but
wait, what era? What would you say? Like what?
This was,
as far as 80s, or you're talking about 2000s?
I'm talking about like early 2019.
Okay, just before pandemic.
Just before the pandemic, it was like glitter lotions and potions and unicorn tears, right?
Yeah.
And then everything kind of went bonkers. And the consumer base, and when we say consumer base, we're talking about everyday humans, me, you, our neighbors, our friends, our family, people we love, began to suffer. And there was this great seeking for purpose. What makes a relationship a good one? We're all trapped in the house together. What makes family dynamics healthy? What makes a career satisfying? What makes spirituality something that actually, anchors me in my life? And so this shift came in response to real-time, real-world suffering. And in this conversation, we also can't ignore what's happening collectively environmentally, like both hurricanes in Los Angeles. Fires. Like there's a lot of grief taking place right now. And so this is a weird sentence, and it's a weird sentence for me to be saying, given my, perspective on capitalism, but we're seeing the market's response right now. We're seeing market respond to
which is you're saying is just cost of living. You're talking about inflation. Are you talking about high interest rates? What do you mean by market's response?
The market's response to the overwhelming loneliness and pain that most humans are experiencing in some facet of their lives right now.
What do you see as that response?
Really specifically, we're seeing, group everything. Group everything, come together, come together for really specifically social programming, spaces and places and programming that bring people together with intention and provide rules of engagement for how you're going to behave within that space. Because people do better when they have rules. People do better when they have rules of engagement. I think what we're seeing now, really interesting, kind of looking historically, when I think about my own life, when I was little on Sundays, we went to church. It's what we did every Sunday. It was always a big fight. And never wanted to get dressed up. There were crumb buns in the morning. We went to church. People sang the same songs. We saw the same people, talked outside. And that was the way it went. But that's not really taking place too much right now. A lot of the religious, civic, organizational strongholds that used to serve society have disintegrated ever since, Bowling Alone was published, I think in 2009, where we've seen the disintegration of our civic and civil society. And another weird thing happened that I don't know how to 100% contextualize, but if we're looking at where public trust moved to, public trust moved away from government, away from religion, and it's now in the space of brands. People expect CEOs of companies like me to fix things. And I'm like, okay, it's a lot of pressure, everyone, first of all. And I think that's where we're seeing the wellness market step up, actually, and providing the types of companies, organizations, communities, places, and spaces where people are able to grab hold of intangible aspects of health that only come from connection to others.
How do you think the hockey sticking of tech? So, obviously, internet, social media, now AI. How does all of that you think impact, or how does that affect what you're talking about as far as market? I mean, definitely with brands, the invention of quote unquote the influencer and the stuff that we're doing on social media has cemented the importance of brands.
It has, and it's kind of like a two-way mirror, right? So, all of this stuff, tech, impacts the way that we engage with and interface with our world. So we basically now live in two worlds, digital and real.
So I want to pause right there and let that soak in. When Noelle said that we live in two dimensions, I really felt it in my bones because I feel like because I'm online so much, I feel like there's a digital part of my life that is a big part of my life, and then there is me running around with my child and wrestling. There's my personal life, and I don't know. It's just that's the norm now, and I don't know how that contributes to community isolation, all of this stuff. In a way, I feel connected more to the world, and at the same time, I feel more lonely.
I think it's causing dysphoria. I think it's causing dysphoria for folks because the way that we connect has been so scattered, right? And so where the community centers, the community thresholds used to, you have your life, you expand out into community, you come together, it was understood. Now things are so dispersed. I'm in Philadelphia, you're in Los Angeles, we get together once a week, we do this podcast, we have a personal relationship, and I'm so glad that we had those years together to really know each other so that this has the experience of being 3D real life, but that's not true of most of the relationships that we form online.
Yeah, most relationships now are formed through like a DM or social media and then a Zoom. It's like the meeting people in person now comes at the end, or it doesn't come at all.
Or it doesn't come at all. And so I think this is a great, intersection to when I'm talking about the market's response, what we're seeing. So I have a case study for us. And as we're looking at the case study, because this is a life coaching podcast, what I'd like to do is really invite everyone to be thinking about this and saying, okay, we're coaches. At what parts of this market response can we actually do our part? Where can we intersect? And then how do we do it from a business perspective? So I'm going to lay it out. This came from Well-to-Do. They put out a newsletter on the intersection of business and wellness. It's a really good one. Mm-hmm. And they wrote a piece about how wellness clubs, social clubs specifically for wellness, are catering to parents and kids. And so this is being heralded as a new wellness experience, right? So here we have Little Houses. It's a group out of the UK, mm-hmm. and they've opened a second family lifestyle club in London's Parsons Green area. Sounds very fancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what is a lifestyle club? What is it? What is this? Is it building a community, an in-person community? Is that what's happening?
It is. So the new location, it's called Jesse's House. Mm-hmm. And it's going to join an existing club, like an existing social club, which is usually mm-hmm. like a gym, a restaurant, offices, kind of exclusive rooms where you can go and do your thing, right? And mm-hmm. be private away, like Soho Club, stuff like that. So with the backing of a UK-based leisure and lifestyle investor, they're planning multiple new venues like this, where health-conscious families can work, exercise, socialize, and play.
Oh,
right?
I love it.
Right. So you're a coach. Work, exercise, socialize, and play. Where do you fit in to this enterprise? Mm-hmm. What do you think? Out of the gate, what are your first thoughts? So you're John Kim. You want to be a part of this as a provider. What can you do?
I want to be a part of it as a provider and also as a participant. But
really,
yeah, that would be amazing. I can go in through many doors. So for me, I would say lifestyle design. I would say dating relationships. I would say fitness. I would say mindset. So all of those kind of doors into. Those are kind of some of the, a lot of group work. Those are kind of the services I could see myself offering there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm thinking, okay, people are going there to work, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a pretty seasoned entrepreneur. I love business. I love helping people figure out work-life balance. I love helping people figure out purpose within their work, how to organize their workflow and like keep themselves as part of it. I could see myself really filling in the work part of the day and being like a coach on demand for somebody mm-hmm. who actually needs to come and sit and noodle through a strategic problem in real time with very diverse businesses that people are working on all sorts of different things. So when you ask like, what's the intersection of like technology and real life right now? This is it. You have a whole bunch of people at a social mm-hmm. club who mm-hmm. all have different businesses and they're all going to the same place with their kids and their partners.
Yeah.
And everybody needs support at work. And then we have exercise, right? So these are all of our wellness warriors, personal training, nutrition, fitness. And then even around socializing and playing, one of our coaches, her name is Lee. She's a creativity coach. And she said that she has one of the most challenging aspects of her job is convincing adults that they're allowed to play with paint, even if they're not good at it.
Right.
But the whole point is to actually enjoy yourself. And I think that concept of actually enjoying yourself is where people are disconnected from themselves due to the projection of social media.
Paint rooms instead of boardrooms.
Yes. Yes. 100%. So, we teed it out. We kind of identified, okay, how can coaches work in this arena? And then we'll tell you what's actually inside. So this is what's being marketed. While children engage in mental and physical activities, so the kids are going to be engaged, mm-hmm. cinema, outdoor and indoor play areas. The parents can focus on work and wellness, from fitness classes to spa treatments to physiotherapy. The
Wow.
space also offers healthy meals, co-working, lounges, and educational social events.
Yeah, you almost basically spend the entire day there, and then of course if they have activity for the kids, I think this is so needed, and I don't know how what price. I don't know how expensive this is at Jesse's house, but I think this is so needed right now. Just
Mhm.
hey, in LA, John's house, come over. I
Right,
got an ice plunge. I got rowing machines.
right.
We're gonna have conversations.
Right, absolutely. My guess is that it's insanely expensive. And so,
Mm,
here we're looking at, well, how do we do this in a way that's actually scalable for
yeah.
everyday folks who are
Or like
struggling
a
with
single mom who's got two kids and has nothing like this, right? And she's just in survival mode.
100%. Like she's not
Yeah.
going to Jesse's house, right? I'm not going to Jesse's house. Like,
Yeah,
let's
no.
like this is like
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
I walk down the street to the coffee house in
Right,
Philly. Like
right,
that's
right.
how it goes. But
Yeah.
and this is a great example of why the vertical of wellness real estate is the fastest growing vertical in wellness, because this is where the money's going. And
Mhm.
so, following the money, following the trends, following the market response, this is where coaches have a chance to look around and say, how can I create? How can I recreate? How can I pitch myself? How can I market myself into these institutions or create grassroots models that are accessible for people in my community?
Yeah.
If
I had this, I would say 15 years ago, when I was coming out of my clinical world. I posted a photo on Tumblr at the time, and it was kind of a coffee shop garage. And I imagine a space where, kind of like this, where people can work, play, educate themselves. And it was set in a very casual, there's motorcycles outside and fitness, and also like even dating and love, so
yeah,
it's like it's all encompassing. So you kind of go there to be a better human, also engage with other people, and peeling, this whole idea of a treatment center, which has stigma to it. And I remember seeing something like this, and 14 years ago. So kind of like noticing now it kind of happening in the world is really interesting,
it
exciting.
it is. And so that the, even listening to you right now, so like what John just described is like a beautiful freaking image for a pitch deck, right? And then what's missing where Noelle's brain goes is, okay, programming,
Yeah.
practitioners,
Hmm.
teachers,
Hmm.
trainers. Like, what does this look like from a scheduling perspective? If
Sure,
we're
criteria.
saying like you're going to go work on your relationships, what does that look like in real time? Is it a group of people where you have a relationship coach zoom in for confidentiality?
Hmm.
Is it a place where there's, like I described my imagining for Jesse's house of having like an actual strategic coach on staff for people who
Yeah.
are co-working and need to noodle through problems? Or even in the wellness space, you pick your head up, you have to exercise. What would it be like? Because you know how what a psycho I am with work. If I was in Jesse's place and all of a sudden a trainer rolled down the hall, was like, Noelle, you got to go work out now.
Yeah.
Like that.
Accountability.
It would change my life to
Yeah.
have somebody be like, it's time for your workout. Close the laptop.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is where we're going.
Hmm.
And my prediction alongside the prediction of all of the trends is that social wellness centers will
Hmm.
ultimately trump fitness focused spaces. Period.
Ooh, yeah.
Period.
Or fitness spaces will start converting or adding, things like programming, coaches, life coaches, that kind of stuff. So there's
They
more of that.
have to.
Yeah.
They have to. And this is where everybody's missing the boat. So you were asking, well, what's the difference between real life and virtual life? There's no anchor. There's no anchor for the
Mhm.
virtual spaces, for the DMs, for AI, because it
Yeah.
creates such a false sense of identity. But if there were a way to basically merge that omnichannel approach, which is digital and real life,
Hmm.
in one space where you have your gadgets, you have, your integrated health, you have your integrated, like you can work with a therapist online from your social club because there's a private room and then go back to your boardroom meeting. That there needs to be and will be an integration of all of these pieces. I say in the next 5 years, we're really going to start to see it.
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's exciting. I think it pulls us out of our houses, our heads, the bubbles, and gets us back into community and life and engaging with other humans. And then what happens is the digital life, the digital stuff, I think is just as important, but it becomes more of a tool instead of your actual life.
Exactly. And there's a secondary aspect to this trend, which I think is really cool, that involves nature and getting outside. So it's actually bridging beyond the social places towards frozen rivers, skating, swimming, hiking, hot springs, forest paths. So we're seeing this, like, I don't know, it's almost like it's contracting and then expanding out, and contracting and it's expanding out. And I think we're going to keep seeing both of those things happen until the right elements are able to fall into place.
Well, that's good news. I feel like that means that the pendulum is swinging back. I think that's great. That's exciting. And also, especially for coaches, just more opportunities.
Let's actually take off our coaching hats and give advice, because we've been at this for a long time, and you and I both know how to build businesses. We both know how to build practices. And that's one of the things that's really scary for most people. Yeah. So if we're saying, full stop, this is where our space, this is where the body where we're going to do our work is headed, what advice would you give folks sitting here saying, well, how the hell do I get involved?
They're already happening. So I would say, get on the ground floor. I would say contact these places, ask what they're looking for, talk to other coaches. I would say, think about what programming would look like for you. It doesn't just have to be an individual session. So just roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go play.
Absolutely. So getting really specific, if I were in London, I would get a hold of the hiring manager at Jesse's place and say, hey, I've been a CEO for, almost a decade. I'm a PCC level coach. Have you thought about bringing in a strategic lead to support your people in co-working, and actually get like a little, pitch deck together and start firing that out to every single social club, every single co-working space, and see where you get traction. If I were to pick my head up and look around my immediate environment in Philadelphia and the way that I like to work at a lower price point, I would start talking to the people who are in charge of programming at the Y and say, hey, one of my areas of specialization is relationships, healthy relationships, nonviolent communication. Is there a universe in which I could run groups for the attendees at the Y to be able to relationship better? And see if I could get traction in that space. And oftentimes, engagement in those types of groups does lead to individual clients, private practices, online classes. And so your first entry point gives you enough information to tell you where you can go. Hit
up your gym. Ask if you could start a life group on Sundays,
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what it's coming down to is having conversations with people and getting brave and being able to talk about what it is that you do, which for me is one of the reasons why Lumia is such a valuable coach training program, because yes, you are absolutely learning how to coach, but because we put such a heavy emphasis on your story is your gold, owning your voice, and talking about your niche early on in the program, we're giving people the tools that they need to learn how to use their voice and leverage it in this way.
Yeah.
And that's not
all
easy
good
to
stuff.
do. Yeah.
And if you're listening and you're curious about coaching, hopefully this was inspirational and encouraging, because it just keeps opportunities keep growing in this field in general. So that's a really positive thing.
Yes, it is. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, to Jesse's place we go.
Yeah. See you at Jesse's house soon. All right.
All right. Be well.
Yep. Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to lumiacoaching.com/everything. Explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a bold community to do it with.
Lumia is ready to equip you with the tools, training, and community you will need to reach your goals. If you're ready to build a unique coaching business on your own terms while making an impact on the world at large, Lumia is the next bold step in your coaching journey. That's lumiacoaching.com/everything.
And hey, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it.